All right, it is Figgie and the Moose back together again on this Thursday right here on Pix 11 Plus. What's going on, Figgie? How you doing, bud?
Well, brother, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Doing great. Back from a little bit of vacation, a little respite, so it was great. And Yankees have cut DJ LeMahieu. We saw a rookie pitcher give you a stellar start last night. Mets got rained out yesterday in Baltimore. Double dip today for the Mets, but had a very good win a couple nights ago with a little late inning magic. So things have turned the corner a little bit for the Yankees, and we got all of Cashman's comments yesterday.
Yeah, trying to match up Cashman's comments, of course, to previous comments. You can always hang your hat on things that Cashman has said. DJ LeMahieu, I think what they did with him was out of respect to that player, right? He's a shell of his former self, two-time batting champion, a guy that a veteran leader that you felt could help this team in some capacity. But the writing was on the wall, especially with him saying that he physically couldn't play third base anymore. Just too demanding on him. Very, very reminiscent of what happened with David Wright. The rigors of just preparing himself on a daily basis to play the position, then actually playing the position and dealing with the aftermath of the wear and tear, just too much. And so they're willing to, let him bow out gracefully and put him on DFA him. Whatever happens after that, the Yankees at least can pivot now and move on wholeheartedly. So Cashman's, I don't know, like with all Yankee things, you kind of have to read between the lines. I don't know. What did you think about his statements?
Well, I think a couple things. I think he wanted to. I thought it was intriguing. A couple of different ways. Number one, the stuff about LeMahieu. We couldn't. LeMahieu can't field. He can't play second. He doesn't have the range anymore. Can't play third. So they probably came to the realization he's not really going to be utilized or of great value of a guy coming off the bench, and they wanted to kind of be aggressive and send a message and a statement. And he's had a number of lower leg injuries, so that's the LeMahieu, which came to the surprise of nobody. But he wasn't hitting 179. He was hitting, I think, 266, 268 on the season. So he wasn't downright dreadful. It's just not the same hitter that he once was. As far as Cashman wanted to send a strong message to the fan base about, that we are still the Yankees and we're super aggressive and we could use a starter. And, we're missing 3 starters from our World Series team a year ago, could use some bullpen help, could, looking out there and trying to get themselves a third baseman. Could you go out there and use a quarter market? We're going to present it to all options to ownership and then go from there. That's great. I mean, that kind of feeds the beast of kind of the old school Yankee fan that went through the 8 days of George Steinbrenner, but actions speak louder than words. And,
No doubt.
It's great that they're going to be aggressive or going to try to be aggressive come July 31st at 6:00 when the MLB trade deadline is officially done, that they're going to try and add to this team. But, the mindset of this organization has been for a while now that, that it's not win at all costs. So let's see just how aggressive it is. The stuff about Volpe, I think his comments from the GM meetings a couple of years ago where, he was angry and trying to hold the reporters accountable and saying, I'm going to want apologies when Anthony Volpe's going out there and hitting 320. Well, he's not. And he's not been the same defensive player this year at shortstop either. So those are issues as well. Like I've said it before, I think I tweeted this out the other day before I went on vacation, is that, the Yankees are always like the last to figure it out. For an organization that wants to tell you with Fishman and company have how smart their analytics department are and how kind of aggressive they are and ahead of the curve and everything like that. They're always the last to know, whether it be Donaldson at third, Gary Sanchez at home plate, whether catching, whether it be Gleyber Torres at shortstop, whether it be Jazz Chisholm at third base. You go up and down the line. For as smart as the Yankees want to tell you, they're always the last organization to kind of figure it out in terms of, and they're a little bit thick-headed in their mindset as a team. So I thought it was intriguing. I think it was kind of red meat for Cashman to the Yankee fans to kind of embolden them, thinking that we're not resting on our laurels. But let's see where the actions are. Let's see. Are you willing to give up? I mean, is George Lombard untouchable? Spencer Jones, are those guys, completely untouchable? Like, what would it take to pry one of those two prospects away from the Yankees? What else are you going to have to give to get? Everybody else and knows that the Yankees are desperate. That's the other thing I don't know if I necessarily love about the messaging either is the Yankees basically sent a message to the rest of Major League Baseball about exactly what their needs are and where they need to go and what they're looking for to come the MLB trade deadline. I don't know if that's necessarily a great thing if you're a general manager, put that out there for the public consumption and for every other general manager in Major League Baseball to read it as well.
Not a good poker player, huh?
Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, like, I don't play cards, but if you're at the poker table and you're holding two aces, do you tell everybody at the table that you have two aces? No, you don't, right? You kind of hold it and you play the crown. So that's the way I looked at Cashman's comments yesterday. I think the proof is going to be in the actions more or less than the words. And words are great. I mean, that's fine. And I think their Yankee fans are like, yeah, we are still the Yankees and we're defined by championships and we're doing all these things. That's great, but let's see exactly what it was. I think he also put pressure on Hal Steinbrenner in his comments because let's see exactly what is presented to Hal Steinbrenner and what he is willing to do, how much money he's willing to spend, how much he's willing to add to this team. Because the Yankees are a good financial business. They make money even when they're not particularly good. A couple of years ago when they went 82-80, the Yankees still made a ton of money, a ton.
Oh, yeah.
They still sold out the ballpark. Yeah. I mean, they were selling jerseys. They were selling road grays and road grays.
Just adding the patch to the jersey made them a ton of money. So
yeah, right, exactly.
Anything that has the Yankee logo,
you can get an insurance patch on your official jersey for like an additional $50.
And the names on the back. So you got to get a new one that has the names on the back because that's what real Yankees wear.
Exactly right.
No, listen, I think one of the things with the Yankee and the branding and all that stuff, that's going to always be there. I think when it comes to on the field, you talk about making this move with DJ LeMahieu and eating $22 million. We've seen it before with A-Rod's contract of $27 million, right? That was a whole different situation. I get that's at the end of his career, but they've eaten money before. Here's the thing. What do you do now? You cannot go and pivot to not getting a third baseman that you need. Anyone whose last name starts with a P, raise your hand. If you can play third and your last name starts with a P, we're going to throw you out there and hope for the best. That's not going to get it done. That's not going to be what the Yankees need. So they definitely have to go out there and try and find themselves a third baseman. I had talked to, depending on where the Diamondbacks are, if you can get Eugenio Suarez from the Diamondbacks, huge upgrade all the way around. What are you willing to give up, right? I mean, obviously you're looking at your prospects that you have down the line. What are you willing to give up to bring in somebody of that magnitude, someone who can hit you 35 home runs easily in his sleep and play a good third base? They could be a huge get.
Well, I mean, and people like Suarez would be great. I agree. People have thrown out McMahon from the Colorado Rockies, who's
and he's having a terrible year.
Having a terrible year. But what is he? He's a career 239 hitter in Colorado. Like, what exactly does that?
That usually adds about 60 points to your batting average just being in Colorado.
What is that going to do? Like, he's hitting 208 this year. It'd be like, well, Colorado stinks. They're 21-72, right? They've got nothing to play for. Well, then that tells me about the competitive spirit of the individual too, right? So even though the team stinks, doesn't necessarily mean that you can't go out there and do your job. But you look at him and people are like, go get McMahon from Colorado. You'll be able to get him on the cheap. Well, I'm sure, but what is a 239 hitter as a Colorado Rocky then look as a New York Yankee with the pressure that's going to come in about being the answer? Like, what is he hitting? 220? I mean,
listen, he was.
Like, what is that? Usually in Colorado, you're playing 81 games in Colorado. You're hitting the cover off the ball.
He had a bobblehead day the other day, like about a month ago. I think the Mets were playing against him at the time. It was a big man bobblehead day, and he was batting like 1-90. And I was like, how embarrassed are you at the ballpark with bobbleheads all over of yourself, and you're batting 190?
Yeah, Figgie's got 26 RBIs through like 90 something games. I mean, what is that going to do? What is that?
Yeah, listen, change of scenery, he could do anything. He is a talented player, but for some reason, whatever, we've seen a lot of players try to become better and take this new approach to a new swing, especially in Colorado. You think that kind of the high leverage swing where they're, a little bit more launch angle, going for the downs, because if you just make contact in Colorado, it should go, right? The numbers always are skewed, home road splits for anybody who plays in Colorado. But listen, you can get him on the cheap. Is it an upgrade for what you have? Yeah. Do you really want to continue to watch the same two, three guys filling in at third
No,
base?
I don't want to. I just don't know if he's the answer. Like Suarez would be the answer. I
Yeah, no,
mean,
Suarez is undoubtedly the answer, but
but that's
Suarez is
going
going
to
to be
cost
accompanied
you.
by
That's going to
a
cost.
multitude of teams that want a third baseman.
Right. The question you have is, it's going to cost you a ton to go get him, right? Are you willing to go out there and pay the price to go get him, right? I mean, let's be honest. It's something we talked about during the offseason. The Yankees should have addressed during the course of the offseason. I mean, it really should have. They didn't. They decided not to, and then we heard like during the offseason that, oh, we're just going to have Chisholm play second base because that's where he's the most comfortable, because
Yeah,
Chisholm and Goldschmidt, on the right side is going to improve our team defensively, right? And then all of a sudden they're moving Chisholm over to third base again because they feel like it'd be easier to go out there and acquire a middle infielder. Like, it's just stupid. Like, it's a lot of like it's just like a lot of dumb baseball like that you're getting in your own way. And listen, the Yankees are still going to make the playoffs. The American League is not particularly deep. It's not particularly great, right? But the goal is, well, that's the issue you have is really, I think the goal for the Yankees as an organization is, make the playoffs, then cross the fingers and hope for the best. And hopefully you get hot at the right time instead of going out there, having understanding, when they were having the advanced scouting reports with Stick Michael and all these things about what it takes to win a title. There is a difference. I don't care. Like, I mean, this whole mindset of, well, you never know, like it's a roll of the dice. No, I mean, you do. There are guys that are able to raise their level and meet the moment when the pressure's on the most. There just
mhm,
are. You see it.
yeah,
And you see
no,
it time and time again where you see guys that are really, really good when the pressure's not on, when the pressure's turned up a little bit. They're not particularly, like, let's be honest, Clayton Kershaw, an all-time great. Congratulations. We talked about him last
yeah,
week, about 3,000 strikeouts. Clayton Kershaw as a playoff pitcher was nowhere close to the pitcher he was during the regular season. Just
no,
wasn't. Like, he
no,
was not a great playoff pitcher. And that's going to be something that he's going to have to live with for the rest of his life because it just is the truth, right? I mean, that's just it. Like David Cohn. David Cohn was very good in the regular season. David Cohn in October basically became Nolan Ryan. Like, he was unbelievable when the pressure was
yeah,
on. Pettit was unbelievable when the pressure was on. Verlander was unbelievable when the pressure was on. How about Madison Bumgarner was
oh God, yes,
unbelievable when the pressure was on. Like,
no doubt.
there are just certain guys that you give, whether it be a hitter or a pitcher, you have an understanding that they're going to be able to meet the moment, whatever they're called upon to do, whether it be get a hit in an
Yep.
RBI situation, keep a rally going, get on base to begin a rally, whatever it might be. Like, and the Yankees have kind of gone away from that.
Yeah, I mean, again, the philosophy, a more we talked about a more balanced approach up and down the lineup, a longer lineup, all those different things. But you have the bottom of the lineup not being able to perform or keep up with the top of the lineup. The top of the lineup, undoubtedly, I mean, very top heavy, especially with Aaron Judge. There's nobody's going to be able to keep up with that. You can add three guys together, and they're not keeping up with Aaron Judge and his abilities. So it makes it difficult when that bar is set that high. I understand that, but I think one thing we could talk about with the trade market and with the Yankees, can you give me a trade that has ever worked out for the other team where they got four prospects for a
Yeah, no,
proven
it doesn't.
commodity? Has it
Yeah,
ever worked out that, oh my God, all four of these guys are major league stars? We really won that trade. It has never in the history of baseball ever worked out. The Piazza, you can go through all the big trades, right? Piazza trade. You don't know, you never even heard of those three guys afterward. Preston Wilson had a little bit longer of a career than any of the other two guys, but they never panned out. So whatever prospects there may be, whatever guys that you want to say that are untouchable, and until you get closer to the asking price of said player, so for a Suarez, listen, if you overpay, you overpay. But here's the bottom line: if
you're trying to
one of those
win.
guys pan out, good for them. But you have a guy who
Well,
can play today and play in your lineup and excel.
right, but the goal is to win. So even
Yeah,
if Spencer Jones turns out for the Arizona Diamondbacks and he's the key component to that deal, and the Yankees win a World Series this year because of the help of Suarez playing third base. Isn't that the goal? I mean, isn't that
Yeah,
what you're going out there trying to do?
yeah.
One that worked out for the opposing team was Pete Crow Armstrong. That's been pretty good for Chicago.
I mean,
It's been pretty good.
yeah, well played.
We'll come back. It's Figgie and the Moose right here on this Thursday, right here on Pix 11 Plus. All right, welcome back. It's Figgie and the Moose here on this Thursday on Pix 11 Plus. So, a lot about the Yankees for sure. After and they had a nice victory. And what you make of Schlittler, the starter for the Yankees last night? How good he looked.
Impressive, very impressive. I mean, you're talking about a guy who, it was double A, triple A, plus fastball. He went out there and challenged guys. It was not a name you was on the top of the list for you to come up and pitch, but definitely a nice debut for the young man. Gave up the 2 home runs. That's going to happen in today's age in Yankee Stadium. I think what you like is his poise, being able to go over 5, and just settle down. There's always nerves and jitters and everything else that go with it, but I mean, he definitely looked like the stuff belongs in the major league level.
Yeah, I mean, and it's cool seeing his family in
Yeah.
attendance and celebrating, and a big kid, and throwing the ball, 99, 100 miles an hour. I mean, but everybody seems to do that now. So, pretty cool. I mean, pretty cool moment. And you love those kind of, because it does take, a family. It takes a lot for somebody to realize their dream, especially whatever sport it might be. And there's nothing like a Major League Baseball debut, Figgy. I mean, you know that better than anybody.
Hmm.
And to be out there and to perform to the level that he did is pretty cool.
Yeah, and listen, when you talk about the network of family, friends, coaches, teammates, they're all watching. Everybody he played with on the way up was watching. Even if they had games of their own, they had a TV tuned in somewhere, and people are running back and forth. How's he doing? How's he doing? So you kind of live your dream vicariously through that player. It was incredible for me. The same thing where you get that phone call, you tell everybody that you're going up there, and then all of a sudden it hits you like, oh my god, not that you want to embarrass yourself, but I'm ready for the challenge. I want to go out there and do my best. And then start getting some names. Cal Raleigh, who's leading leading Major League Baseball in home runs, first Major League strikeout at 100 miles an hour. That's something that you'll never forget, to go out there and prove that your stuff belongs. And of course, now can I do it the second time through the lineup? And it used to be the third time through the lineup, but that's no more. So going 2 times through that lineup, having an opportunity to lead with a lead. And the Yankees offense, of course, responding and giving him a push. That always helps. Your teammates are always very supportive. That first go, we got your back. Don't worry. And all those wonderful things. And I tell you, those memories came flooding back. I made my debut in Texas, in Arlington, the big stadium with Pudge Rodriguez and
Yeah.
David Segui and Palmero, and I'm sitting there just thinking, man, I'm watching the guys in batting practice just teeing off, and balls are flying into the third deck. And that's the big difference, right? Between the minor leagues and the major leagues. If you're in a big minor league stadium, there might be a second deck around. But when you get to a third, fourth, fifth deck, and the amount of people, the amount of noise, the amount of boos that come through, even just warming up in the bullpen, they are literally looking at your stats online, and they're telling you all about yourself, and like they're taking bets. Man, my boy here says you're gonna last, 2/3 of an inning. I took a whole inning. I think you can get through the whole inning. And you're hearing all this as you're warming up. And they're even like, he's throwing a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and they're still going, whoop, when the catcher throws it back, like he lollipop arm. Really, he's throwing 100. Shut up.
Yeah.
So all those things are combined into, you get done with the warm-ups, you get done with everything, you say your prayer, you get yourself out on the mound, and then the lights seem to get a little bit brighter. And
Yeah.
God bless the young man. He went out there and he showed that for at least a day, his stuff played, and he belonged in the major league. So
Yeah,
let's
it
see if
was
he can
really
do it
cool.
again.
Really cool. We'll close it out today. Talk a little bit about Soto. And I know I guess he doesn't make the All Star team. It's going to cost him 100 grand. What's your take on Soto not being an All Star in the National League?
Well, and if you look at right fielders in the National League, he's leading all right fielders in home runs, RBI. I think he's second or third in RBIs, leads in runs scored, leads in on base percentage. So there's a lot of things he leads in. It's just very curious to me. There's two phases of it, right? The first phase is the fan vote, and the fan vote wound up Kyle Tucker was a lead voter. Lead vote getting in center field was Pete Crow Armstrong. So Chicago showed up and represented and voted and voted and voted to get those two guys in the All-Star game. So for Met fans, first complaint is, did you vote? How many times did you vote? Did you vote for your guy to be in the All-Star game? If it was such a colossal cultural movement, a generational player, did you vote? Oh, you just assumed that he was going to be an all-star because he's Juan Soto. Well, no, that's right. Kyle Tucker wound up leading that vote and getting the nod. Then you look at past that is then he's by his peers and coaches who gets the next nod, and he was bypassed by that. Why? Because players are like, I'm not voting for a guy who's batting 230 at some point and making $700 million. He doesn't need it. It's not that he doesn't need it, and we'll get into his comment about a lot of money on the table. But he has earned it, right? Look at the month of June, and since the month of June, how he has become Juan
He was
Soto
the
yet
player of the
again.
month. Yeah.
He's been Juan Soto yet again. And so I think that one of the things that people have to realize, like if it was so automatic and it was just an everyday ho hum thing, you get used to it, it's boring. You know what? I like the struggle. I'm a big fan of the struggle. I'm a big fan of the how does he deal with adversity? How does he, does he all of a sudden shy away from the spotlight? We saw him doing a little different things, not as much Soto shuffle, not as much staring down the pitcher and nodding because, when you're punching out looking because the guy's throwing you 8 curveballs and you took the eighth one for a strike, you really can't sit there nodding. So he lost his swagger for a little bit, right? When we were like, man, when's he going to Soto shuffle again? Then he starts hitting home runs, starts getting into his groove, June swoon, and everything else. And unfortunately for him, the Mets were losing while he's continuing to find himself and be the hitter that he is. So there isn't that balance. Imagine if Soto starts to hit. That didn't happen yet for the Mets. And so seeing him go through all those things, and of course he wants to be an all-star. I mean that's it's a as Bryce Harper once said, that's a clown question, bro. But for his answer of it's a lot of money left on the table there.
Yeah.
Every dollar matters. It's one or two at bats for him in
Yeah.
reality.
I mean,
At the end of the
yeah.
day, for baseball, if this is one of your crown jewels, then the nod should be there. I feel. I think there's one other
Yeah.
guy. There's one other guy I think that is um, what's the other Cub? The Cubs DH. He's got 77 RBIs. He's leading in RBIs in Major League Baseball, and he wasn't voted in either. And as these things always work, there's going to be replacements, but it's hard. Like, does Soto take a stand and go, "I'm not a replacement" when that call comes? Because undoubtedly somebody's going to say that they don't want to go or they can't play, and now they're going to want to bring in Soto, and then you're going to see Juan Soto in the National League coming
Yeah.
in the All Star game. Well, that was part of the plan all along. You can't say that this guy hasn't been trending in the right direction. Not for a week. He was Player of the Month.
Yeah.
There's been 2.5 months before that. How does he not get the nod? It is what it is. But at the end of the day, I still think he gets in as a reserve.
Yeah, yeah, I think he probably still does. Yeah, I think he's. I'm listen. I think he's. I think the All Star Game should be a celebration of the sport. I think you should, promote your biggest stars of the game. Clearly, Juan Soto is one of the biggest stars. I think the player mentioned was Chicago Suzuki, who's got 77 RBIs for the Chicago Cubs. He's been great. He's got 25 home runs.
Yeah.
He's been fantastic. The Cubs have had obviously a very, very good season up until this point in time. I don't think anybody's concerned about whether or not he makes the $100,000 bonus. I mean, but money's money. So, I mean, I'm also not going to be one that reaching into Juan Soto's pocket and saying that he shouldn't be concerned about 100 grand. 100 grand is 100 grand. So,
Yeah.
whatever way you look at it. So, I look at, do I think he's an all-star? Probably, and we'll see if he does join Diaz, Lindor, and Pete Alonso down in Atlanta for the All-Star festivities next week. But yeah, maybe a little pushback. But I agree with you about the fans. Get out there and vote. I miss when it was the paper ballot where you'd have to take the pencil and pop it in
Yeah,
and then drop it into a box. They probably never counted them. They probably never did.
They threw it right in the garbage.
They threw it right in the garbage and just put whoever they wanted to put in. They didn't care.
We're going to pick who we want to pick.
Right, but now it's so easy. You go online. It's not, and I'm not one that votes. Like I don't really get into it, but people do. But that's the surprising thing. You could understand if attendance was an issue at Citi Field this year. They're drawing 35 to 38,000 a home game, regardless of opponent. So that's where you get into you get a little concerned about why exactly the vote go the way that it went. But hopefully he gets in and we see him next
also,
week.
Case in point, right? If you look at Jazz Chisholm's numbers, right?
Yeah.
He was hurt for a while, so the amount of games is low. What's his batting average? 245?
Something like that, yeah.
Right? He's batting 245. Explain to me how that's an all-star, but Soto isn't an all-star. Whatever position you want to put Jazz at, right? Is he a second base? Is he a third base all-star? What?
Yeah, he's hit. Yeah, I mean, I just correct. He's hitting 251 on the year. Yeah, I'm not right. You could look at it that way. I get. Listen, I think he deserves it. We'll see if he gets in as a reserve for the National League, but and it should be about a celebration of the sport. None of this other nonsense that we get into when you're looking at all-star games. It is. I mean, it is what it is, right? So you see the star players more now than you ever did before 20 or 30 years ago. So is it taking away some of the kind of luster from the event? Yeah, for sure. But we've been down that road. But should Soto be an all-star? Yes, because of what we've seen him and how well he has played for the last 5 weeks. Well, that'll do it for this Thursday edition of Figgie and the Moose. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back on the TV tonight together at 7 p.m. Sports Nation Nightly. Make sure to check us out there on Pix 11. Hopefully everyone out there has themselves a wonderful Thursday. For Nelson Figueroa, I'm Marc Malusis. See you tomorrow.